Hello, my YouTube friends. It's Richard, founder of Short-Term Rental University and Airbnb Superhost. Yesterday, February 22nd, 2018, was a monumental day for the history of Airbnb. Brian Chesky, the CEO, came out. He delivered a keynote speech for about an hour, and he talked about the future of Airbnb. They called it a home for everyone. I think it's really worth watching. If you haven't seen it, we'll include the link below. I'm not going to summarize it on this. What I'm going to do instead is talk about what it means for us as hosts, and the future of hosting, and my thoughts and interpretations on the big announcement. But first, a little backstory. As you may or may not know, there was a power struggle at Airbnb. The CFO, who was an ex-Blackstone person, left. He really wanted the company to go public. Brian Chesky, the founder, really wanted the company to focus on the experience and the guests and the hosts and so on. And I think yesterday's announcement was the culmination of probably what they were fighting about. There wasn't a ton of information in there that would drive the public markets and get more revenue in there. It really was about the experience itself. So Brian Chesky is the founder. He won the argument. The Blackstone executive who wanted to go public is out, and here are the things that Brian Chesky wants us to all focus on. So the very first thing Brian talked about was Superhost benefits. He announced custom URLs, which I think is a great thing. How often do people ask you for your listing and you have to look it up and copy and paste, or not even give it to them because you don't know how to access it? But now if you are able to name, because you're a Superhost, your property and share that URL, it's easy to remember, it's easy to share, and now you're building your business. So I think that's great. There's also things like buying power and buying clubs, and I think that's wonderful too. It's not really going to motivate me to become a Superhost as much as the revenue associated with Superhost, but I'd really like to see, as the company matures, they recognize that for the longest time they've been focused on the guests only, and it's really now time to focus on the host. For in fact, Airbnb doesn't have a business at all if they don't have happy hosts. So it's really nice to see them focusing on the host, although I think there's a lot more room for improvement. I do like the fact that they got started, and I encourage them to continue spending more time with more hosts to understand what it's like in our shoes every single day. So as they grow the business, they have more hosts and happier hosts. The second thing Brian talked about was a new concept. It's called Super Guest. And I think that that's really interesting. Of course, it really depends on how it's actually done, right? A lot of this stuff is qualitative, it's soft, it's based on other people that have never met one another, reviewing one another. But all things being equal, I as a host would love to know that somebody's a great guest. I don't know what the difference is between a great guest the way I currently define them, with a lot of reviews and trust and good communication, versus the super guest, so it's to be determined. But the concept of trust, knowing somebody trustworthy is coming and staying in my house, is worth a lot. Now here's the rub. Brian goes on to say that many people would like to have these super guests at discounted rates or give them more freebies or so on and so forth, which is, again, at odds with a hosting community. It's really helping the guest get discounts, and it's asking the host for that trust to lower their prices. To be determined how this all plays out. I like the concept, but I do think it's downward price pressure. The third item discussed yesterday was called categories and collections. This is really a refinement of the user experience, and I think it's long overdue. I, as a guest on Airbnb, have a lot of difficulty finding a place that's suitable for me, and I spend a lot of time just searching and searching and searching. And I think Airbnb, probably in spending time speaking to guests and understanding their frustrations, has developed basically a superior user experience so that you can search and refine things looking for, say, a penthouse apartment or views or family friendly. They will also then categorize things into like gourmet kitchen and so on. So in a nutshell, there's a big overhaul and a big emphasis happening on the guest search experience, which I think will ultimately reward both the guest and the host, as you're matching more people with the right property faster, making it more convenient, and likely increasing the number of conversions and bookings. The fourth item is perhaps the largest and most exciting / controversial.
So today, I'm excited to announce that we are introducing Airbnb Plus.
I'm just going to tell you my personal opinions, and I will go on the record as saying I reserve the right to change it. I keep an open mind, and so I will pay close attention, and I will let you know in updates what I think about it. But it's called Airbnb Plus. And now this is basically a higher level of super hosting program. People that have met certain qualifications, and in fact they've announced a 100-point checklist. I think it's announced in 13 cities today. It's going to roll out going forward. I have a question about that rollout. It could take a long time. I mean, hiring people, training people, getting people into individual homes, that could take years, decades even. So I do have a question about the viability and the scalability of it, but we'll put that aside. Let's assume that they have the perfect process, the perfect training, the perfect people, and they come into your home, they've got the 100-point checklist. I think that's a great idea, assuming that it's fair. But I also think that there's a lot of room for interpretation, perhaps even abuse, right? I mean, they're asking people to pay for this. You're going to wait. You're going to get somebody into your home, and there's a 100-point checklist. Let's just say that you get 99 pass and 1 fail. Okay, I think you probably pass. But what if it's 64 and the passing grade is 65? Now all of a sudden you fail. So I just kind of think that there's a lot of room for people to be disappointed, or then there's just a lot of wiggle room, and then it's kind of meaningless. So I guess what I'm trying to say is this. I personally am not going to jump through hoops or hold my breath to try and be in this Plus program. If I qualify and it's relatively straightforward and somebody can come in on a vacant day and it's not a lot of time or energy for me and I think it's going to increase revenue, of course I'll do it. Why wouldn't I do it? But I'm just not sure that the mechanics are actually going to work. My trader instinct says the following, and I announced this in the membership group yesterday. You buy the rumor and you sell the news. I think there's been a lot of hype behind the scenes about what they're going to do. That's the rumor. That's when you buy. The news itself, I'm not convinced. I don't think this is a real game changer. And here's the thing. The people that likely qualify and the cities that likely qualify, they're probably doing quite well in the first place. So I'm not sure it's going to increase a lot of revenue for them. A lot of bookings, they're probably pretty full in the first place. And I did hear something that I want to caution everyone about. One of the things that Brian said about this Airbnb Plus thing was
the average price per night is less than $250 a night, but they're insanely nice. I mean, look at these.
That to me sounds like pricing pressure. Is that one of the qualifications? Is that how they pick cities? Is that how they pick homes? Because as an entrepreneur and a real estate landlord, I want pricing power. I want to command as much money as I can. I want to deliver great value and a great experience. But am I going to lower my prices just so that I become part of the Plus program? I mean, I would rather have 270 nights occupied at the right clearing price as the market dictates versus trying to lower my price and be full 365 days doing that much more work and wear and tear and cleaning and human resource issues with my cleaning crew and neighbors and all of that for a lower price just to be in part of this program. Again, it's just rolling out. I know it's live now, but we have no data points. So I reserve the right to change my opinion. I think it's a really good idea. I think implementing it is really challenging. I think the scale is going to be virtually impossible. And, I ran a company that was monitored by the Department of Transportation. And I can tell you, on certain days, there were certain people that would come and inspect the buses that were qualified and fair. And then on other days, they were maybe grumpy and not so fair. And an infraction on our business could hurt our business. It could hurt our income, our livelihood. So I don't love the fact that there's now this big brother authoritarian mechanism in place in what was previously an open platform where people could come and do what they wanted as they wanted, charge fair price, and it was just reviews based. Airbnb now is injecting themselves, if you will, as the authority on what a proper Airbnb Plus looks like, feels like, is graded, and so on. And if they do it well, it's great. If they don't do it well, then perhaps it's abusive. Imagine if YouTube told me that I needed certain lighting and certain sound and blah, 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 and started to change my content. That wouldn't feel quite right. Don't want to scare anyone. Overall, I think it's a plus plus. I think it's going to win, but I don't think I'm going to hold my breath or think it's nothing but good. There is some potential downside here. And the fifth and final thing that Brian spoke about yesterday is called Beyond, Airbnb Beyond. They purchased Luxury Retreats, which is a very high-end purveyor of high-end homes, villas, chalets, palaces, you name it, experiences really. And now they're going to roll it out mainstream, and I think that's fantastic. There's another competitor called One Fine Stay, and I think there's definitely demand in this area. I think there's a lot of opportunity. I think it's challenging, and the reason is people that are looking for this sort of experience and are willing to pay this much money generally want their hand held a little bit more in the form of travel agents or people that have like done and experienced this stuff, and at some point, maybe in 5 years or in 10 years, the platform will work better. I have a property that's currently listed on One Fine Stay, and they have a sales team. So when somebody makes an inquiry, they actually talk to them and walk them through and so on and so forth. So even though the website and the platform might be a great place to begin the conversation, I'm not sure how much business is actually conducted just solely on the platform itself. But I'm sure in the future there will be more videos and diagrams and knowledge and robust experience share and so on, and we'll get to that place. But today, I think it's an early stage. I think it's a great concept. I think there's a lot of people that have a lot of these tremendous properties all over the world. I think it's a great addition, and I think it's something to watch over a go-forward basis. I may even experiment with it myself. So in conclusion, I applaud Airbnb. They're doing the right things. As the company is maturing and growing, they're worth $30-some-odd billion. They're the largest and fastest growing hotel company in the world. They need to do some of these things. I think it's very challenging. I think focusing on the guest experience and now the hosting experience is tremendous. I think it's a baby step. I think there's a lot of room for improvement. We're going to be paying attention to them. And if I could ask Airbnb to focus a little bit more on the host experience and what makes us profitable will help us grow our businesses, we'll come full circle to them. It will help them grow their business. I'd love to hear your comments and your thoughts about the announcement yesterday. What excites you? What scares you? What am I missing? Tell us what's going on. Come check out our Facebook group. There's a lot of people that are involved in the pilot program. I'm eager and excited to see what they say. How did that 100-point checklist go? How did the photography go? How long was the wait? What do they see in terms of conversions and bookings and so on? So that's a great place. If you're not in one of those 13 cities but you want to stay tuned, join our Facebook group. And in the meantime, we're going to continue to update this as I evolve my thinking and learn more about all of this stuff here on the YouTube channel, so go ahead and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. And the best way to know is click on the little bell so you get notified. And in the meantime, I'm going to wish you nothing but the happiest and best hosting yet. Whether you're a super host, a beyond host, a plus host, just getting started host, want to get started host, it doesn't matter.